Speaking of random sexualized comments on Harrison Buckner. TJ, I know you really want to talk about him.
Yes.
I'm sure I did not mean to steal your intro, but let's introduce the audience, TJ, to this story.
All right, so you guys had to have seen this clip these clips by now of the Kansas City Chiefs kicker, whose name I didn't know, but it's Harrison Butker, Butker. Now, the first time I saw it, I assumed it was a typo because Butker is a word I've never seen before, but Butler is a word I've seen a million times, and the K is right next to the L. So I was like, okay, it's Butker, Butker. I can't even think of like what nationality that name comes from. I couldn't possibly tell you. And he was giving a commencement speech at Benedictine College, I think it was named. And he went on talking about how his score was like, I want to take a second to address the women in the audience, the graduates, the graduating women of the school. Is like, you guys have been sold a pernicious lie, a lie that one of these days you should be chasing after that promotion, chasing after that vice presidency and making a lot of money. But really what you need to be looking for is a way that you can have children and get married. And then it got even worse. Like, you thought it would be like these women just paid thousands of dollars and you're talking down to them like, I don't know why you went through all this.
I don't know why you're here. Because, like, I can understand if he was giving, a sermon at a mass and he said that, maybe. But, like, you're literally talking to women who just paid thousands of dollars to kickstart their career. Like, he's the last group of women you should be saying that to.
Yeah, and then...
Rachel Hyatt said, who are you talking about? Seinfeld? Laugh out loud. And we might be. I'm not surprised that you would have thought that. But no, it's Harrison Butker, the kicker.
Well, Seinfeld wouldn't be talking to a college. He would be talking to a high school because he's into high school girls. So for those of you who don't know, Jerry Seinfeld, when he was like 35, was dating a 17-year-old who was still he didn't have the plausible deniability that she graduated early. And like, I saw her out there at 2 p.m. and a weekday. No. He would go pick her up from high school. I was like, the college girl is a little too old for Jerry Seinfeld. But then Butker went on to say, he started crying. He said, I know that my wife would tell you her life did not truly begin until she embraced like her role as wife and mother. So her life didn't begin, according to Harrison Butker, until she first married him and second had his kids. And that's when her life started. And I don't know what to say to this. Like, what are your opinion of this, John? Because I have a lot to say about this guy. It's cracks me. Harrison Butker is the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes. So here there is. I used to say this on the show a lot. I haven't said it for a while, but there is often a small grain of truth behind a lot of conservative lies. And the small grain of truth here, the defensible position is, some people don't get fulfilled by their career. Some people get fulfilled by family and homemaking, and that's totally acceptable. And don't let society pressure you into doing something that makes you miserable when really all you want to do is raise a family. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly fine statement to make. What isn't fine is to say that at a college commencement speech for graduate students who are clearly headed into their career, and B, and more importantly, address it specifically to women. Like for example, if I were to say, hey guys, don't sleep on bananas. Bananas are a great fruit. Absolutely no problem with that. If I looked up in the room and say, hey, all the black people in this room, have you heard about bananas? It would sound kind of racist. And so, just because you're saying something that's true doesn't mean the context of what you're saying around it doesn't make it incredibly sexist. And that's the problem with what Harrison Butker is saying. It's not that, because all of the conservative fucking talking heads are like, oh, you can't say that it's like that you can still be like a good, a good woman in upstanding society and just be you have to have a career. No, you don't have to have a career. But why are you just talking to the women, Harrison? Why is that not a statement you're also making to the men?
Yeah, this is a common tactic that conservatives use. And it's not only conservatives, but you will see it with conservatives a lot. and it's called the Mott and Bailey. And for those who don't know, Mott and Bailey this is a great example what John just used, is that Harrison Butker gets up there and says, women, you should not strive to achieve anything professionally, because your real fulfillment will come in having children and being moms. And other people will say, okay, kind of fucked up that you're telling women that they can only get the real fulfillment they'll get is through, neglecting a career and having it's like, oh, okay. And then that's the Mott is the statement he made, but then he'll move to the Bailey, which is, oh, so you're saying being a mom is bad? Like, no, that's not what anyone said. That's not what anyone said at all. But they retreat to this bullshit every single time. And with Butker, this is also something conservatives do that we have mentioned a long time, is that a lot of people will rightfully say that a problem with liberals, progressives, or leftists is that we have a tendency to virtue signal that, like, oh, look how great of a person I am. Look how much I care. Look how good of a human being I am. Conservatives don't virtue signal. They vice signal. They do the exact opposite. They say, I am a garbage fucking piece of shit. I am a regressive person. Like, and I'm not joking. They do it all the time. Like, look at all conservative media.
I mean, it is virtue signaling to them. That's coded as virtue signal. I feel like what he's doing is a virtue signal to the Catholic religious community. I know, like they totally vice signal. Like, they'll say like borderline racist jokes and be like, that's a vice signal that they totally do. But I feel like it is viewed as a virtue. You know what I mean? Like, he's signaling a virtue.
But I don't give him that much credit, because look, it is true. Like, I don't, because like they know good and damn well that we don't have a problem with people raising families. Now, then again, maybe they don't. I don't know. Like, I think your average, like, yeah, we are against people raising families. No, it has nothing with that. So they lean into it, because it would be one thing to say, hey, you know what? Careers are great, but families are good too. But he doesn't do that. He goes a step further and says, I don't know why you women bother doing this, because your real fulfillment, and that's why I think it's a vice signal, because he knows how people are going to react to that. Like, there's no way. I actually saw a pretty funny thing. So there's a guy I follow on TikTok called The Speech Prof, who got to get on the show. I've been meaning to do that for a long time, but he told a story that he did a show talking about this, and they performed a sketch or something in which, like, the college invited this guy to come speak, and they had no idea what he was going to say. Like, how fucked up it would have been to just be sitting there like, oh my God. But odds are they knew what he was going to say and completely agreed with it, being a Catholic university. But I don't know, the thought of just like being the administrator, just watching that would be kind of wild.
Yeah. And it does. So what you mentioned there about like what he could have said, I think it's very much hitting the nail on the head. We're like, the message that he's sending, if he was truly sending it in good faith, there are ways to send that message. The defensible position. You can say that in a very positive way that doesn't offend anyone. You can say, hey guys, I know you're going to be focused on your careers. You just got your grad degree, but don't forget to keep your family first. Make sure that everything's right in the home before you go off to the office, because that's what truly matters in life. No one would have been upset about that. But you're right. It wouldn't have got the vice signaling in.
Nope.
It wouldn't have owned the libs. That's the real reason he said it this way. Because there's no other reason to specifically target women with this.
Nope.
To specifically be like, oh, well, this is more important. Like, can you, like, just genuinely, like, any of these people who defend it, like, can you imagine someone saying that exact same sentence about men? I cannot imagine getting up and being like, hey, men, don't forget, you're supposed to be homemakers first. You're supposed to raise your family first. Make sure you're there for your kids. And it's funny because, like, he even, like, in another part of the speech, he talks about how, like, oh, America, we're, we have more single family, more abandoned fathers. I forget what the actual like terminology he used was, but like a higher rate of fathers abandoning their families than any other country. And I don't even know if that was true, but like, yeah, you're right. It is a problem, but it's kind of weird how like you're talking about how the fathers are abandoning their families for careers, but for some reason you're talking your message particularly to women about how they need to focus on their families. These two things seem like they're not aligned. It seems like you're just dog whistling with all of that.
Yes.
Because they don't make sense together.
Yeah. No one would ever ask a man to choose between a family and a career. They never ask that. It doesn't happen at all. And he had some hits in this speech, man. Like the entire thing was just like everything you hear on right-wing conservative media. Like he was shitting on DEI. Like he was talking about how DEI was bad. One thing I'm actually kind of mad. I'm not a creator who gets on social media and complains that, well, TikTok is censoring my videos, and they're shadow ban. You'll never hear me complain about this. I know people do, but I don't get whatever happens.
By the way, in case anyone was wondering, TikTok's totally shadow banning me right now, and I'm pissed.
Hey, right.
Anyway, go ahead.
so please support my content. But I made a video right before we hopped on about Madison Butker. I don't know why I call him Madison. Harrison Butker. But he's all the president's names, they kind of run together to me. But there's another part of the speech where he said that we need to focus on truth because we're living in a post-truth world or something like that. He says, because just a few weeks ago, Congress has made it illegal for us to even say who killed Jesus. And then he moved on. I was like, no. Who killed Jesus, Butker? Who? What are you trying to say here? Like, are you trying to say that Pontius Pilate killed Jesus, or that the Roman soldiers killed Jesus, or the individual members of the Sanhedrin? No. You want to say they killed Jesus, and we all know they means Jewish people.
We all know that the people who killed Jesus are the hairy people with the big noses.
Exactly. That's what he wants to say.
Italians.
Exactly. Yeah, Italians. No, that's what he wants to say, and it's like First off, I'm insulted by his cowardice. Say it, you fucking coward. Like, say what you're so upset about, because it's really galling coming from someone speaking to a Catholic audience on behalf of a Catholic university when like we talked about this before about how the Catholic Church preached that Jewish people as a whole, their ancestors and their descendants are collectively responsible for the death of Jesus, for killing God, until 1964. That was, so for 2,000 years, Catholics, persecuted, oppressed, and murdered Jews all across North Africa, Central Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, and without a second thought. So, you know what? No, you don't get to sit here and complain that, we can't even practice old school anti-Semitism anymore. That's how I know this guy has like no noble intentions here. And you know what? This didn't surprise me either. He didn't even grow up this way. He converted to Catholicism like 5 years ago or something like that.
Which is an insane thing to do. Be a grown-ass man and convert to a pedophile organization? Like that's an insane thing to do, especially if you're famous.
Yeah. It's this is what you ever notice this? You ever notice the people that convert to like a very strict religion like that? They are all fascists. They are all fascists. Yeah. You will no normal ass people join the Greek Orthodox Church at 34. That doesn't happen, man. Like they're looking for something to that capitulates to their fascist tendencies. That's what they are.
It really is. It's always blown my mind how people who don't grow up religious become religious. I don't understand it. Unless you're like the guy who survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki and lived to 90. Like that guy, he can follow whatever religion he wants. But like if nothing like that happened to you and you just like decide to join a very strict fucking religious organization, you just want to be in a cult. Like that's it, and you want to lead the cult. Like there's nothing else. Like there's no way you can tell me, oh yeah, the teachings of the Bible made me realize that the Catholic Church, that's the one true one that I did all. But no, you just wanted to join a fucking cult, and you wanted to do so in a publicly acceptable way.
Yeah, you weren't logicked into this. You didn't crack open the common book of prayer. Like, oh my God, this is really winning me over here. But you're right. Unless there's it's called a significant emotional event or something. Like my dad he joined Christianity when he was like I don't know, 30, 35 or something. But that's because he got into a car accident and he was going to kick out of the army for alcohol and stuff. And so he was looking for something to change his life around. That makes sense. But, you know, you're a professional athlete and you've got also one more thing, man. This guy is that complaining about, old school values and everything like that. And women need to stay at home. He talked about homeschooling, how important that was. Yeah, buddy, your wife can afford to homeschool her kids. So she can do that. Most people need both spouses to work to have kids at all. They're not going to have this option that you so willingly recommend to them. Hey, ladies, how about you have a bunch of kids and stay home? Because you're going to be able to afford to do that, right? You're all going to marry millionaires.
To be fair, TJ, to be fair, and I hate to be fair to this guy, but
all right,
the audience he's talking to at the small private Catholic college, who are all getting their master's degrees, probably most of them can afford to stay.
Yeah, true.
I will give him the benefit of the doubt on that.
Yeah. Narrator, thank you.
Narrator, thank you very much. Narrator,
coming through.
We were talking about you earlier, narrator.
We were.
You're one of our favorites, and it's totally not because you give us money.
No, we mentioned you before the show because we were having trouble getting on, and we were talking about how we have about 6 people who regularly watch this during the broadcast, the live broadcast, and we're like, oh yeah, we feel really close to narrator, although we've never even seen him before. But I didn't get to Rachel's comments here. Conservatives talk about post-truth while saying Jesus, yeah.
Which just isn't like it's not like an accurate thing. Like a Jewish person was the judge at
here or
are we just gonna blame every entire religion on everyone who's ever killed anyone? Like that's kind of insane.
Here is why they do it, because in the Bible, whenever Jesus is turned over to the Sanhedrin, like the Jewish, council, whatever, and they say, okay, we're accusing Jesus of blasphemy for claiming to be the Son of God when he's clearly a man. Look at him. And they ask him, are you the Son of God? He says, I am. And the ground shakes and everything like that. And so I go, which would scare me off. I got to tell you, I'm like, okay, all right. That's okay. I'm taking your word.
I'm not gonna execute this guy.
I want to stay on pretty good terms with your dad when I die. So I'm going to let you off the hook.
Just in case.
Right. And so they arrest him and they take him to the Romans. And so Pontius Pilate, who's the governor over the area there, is looking over this and he says, okay, so what's this guy charged with? And they're like, well, he's claiming to be a king and there's no king but Caesar. And so Pilate does a trial and interview, was like, all right, this guy just seems like a regular preacher. He doesn't seem any different than any of you folks. And he's like, I can't find a crime that this guy committed. And so Pilate doesn't want to send Jesus to execution. So he's like, this is ridiculous. And he said, I've got an idea. So there's a murderer. Say what?
Barabbas.
There's a murderer and a thief named Barabbas. And Pilate says, okay, so some holidays coming up or whatever. He's like, okay, so every holiday we release a prisoner. Do you want me to release Jesus, this kindly young preacher here who's never hurt anybody, or this thief and a murderer? And then the crowd of people start chanting, give us Barabbas, give us Barabbas. And Pilate's like, are you shitting me? You want Barabbas? And they're like, yeah, we want Barabbas. So Pilate washes his hands of the situation and he says, okay, his blood is not on my hands. It is on yours. And then in Matthew and in the Gospel of Matthew and John, the crowd says, let his blood be on our heads and upon the heads of our children. So that was the justification the Catholic Church used. Like, whoa, look at that. This crowd of Jewish people said, let the blood of Jesus be on their heads and on the children's head. So we're going to apply that in perpetuity for all time. It's a fucking insane dogma. And that's what they just went with. And I was like, once again, you put something behind a religion and you can get people to believe pretty much anything.
Which, to be fair, if you're like an Irish Catholic, you just assume each of them had 12 to 26 children, and so you would think that they might have populated most of the earth. But the Jewish culture ain't like that, man. They don't have 18 children. It's very much a Catholic thing.
Oh, we talk about this all the time. Well, this isn't Rachel. This is Rachel's son, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I don't know what your name is.
We'll just call you Mr. Hyatt.
Mr. Hyatt, yeah. Conservative economic policies cause the intertraditional family even most. It's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true.
That is such a good point, because like I always say this: the traditional family values conservative and the freedom-loving conservative, it doesn't make sense that they're the same ideological movement, because if you're freedom-loving, you really should be way far left on social issues. Like like there's no way that you like, I'm a freedom-loving American, go, yeah, but women, their place is in the home. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Those two things don't make any sense together.
They don't. And I like to throw this back in conservatives too, that, you know, they say, well, we need to go back to the good old days. And what they mean is the 50s and 60s. Yeah. Listen, there were a lot of things that were better in the 50s and 60s economically, you know, for white people. But like, so we want to go back to that. We want to go back to the high tax rates on the wealthy that funded things like, you know, Social Security and the GI Bill. We want, you know, high union memberships to get wages up. We want people to be able to afford to support a family of 4 people on a high school education. That would be great. But conservatives fight against everything that could possibly make that happen and say, yeah, just work more. You all need to work more. You need to work. Your spouse needs to work. And as we've seen what they're doing in state legislators all around the country, your kids need to work too. We need to loosen child labor laws. That's what they're going for. It's nonsense. Jesus is God. God chose to sacrifice only begotten son. Jesus was Jewish. Check. Jesus. Okay.
And considering he killed himself, and we know the Catholic Church views that as a mortal sin, he's going to hell.
Freedom. I didn't see that. I got to read these before I post them. I should do that just in case. Freedom for them is freedom from other ideas and cultures. It's also freedom. See, I confuse the two terms. There's like positive freedom and negative freedom. Yeah. I forget which ones they mean, but there's some freedoms that actually hurt people. Like you can't burn leaded gasoline. Like you can't have the freedom to do that because it's going to damage society. And conservatives aren't big on freedoms like that, on you know, regulating that type of freedom. Like, yeah, so what? It's not hurting me. Let me dump chemicals in the water. It's nonsense.
Yeah. But yeah, relate this back to Harrison Butker and wrap this up with a nice little bow. The Chiefs are going to lose in the Super Bowl to the Philadelphia Eagles this year. So sorry, Harrison. That's how we're going to end this show. All right, guys. Thank you very much. You have once again made it to the end of the show. And if this is your first time making it to the end of the show, thank you even more. You're excellent. You help feed the algorithm. Just like and subscribe to finish the deal. If you like what you saw here, remember that we do this live every Thursday from 6 to 8. Technically, right now, it's from 7 to 9. We might be changing that, but Thursdays, be here. Wednesdays, also from 6:30 to 7:30. We are live every single week. TJ, what do you have to end this with?
Look, guys, we appreciate you watching, all of you. It's been really great. Be sure to check out our other videos. Whichever one you watched, I highly recommend you check out the video we did talking about Joe Biden and Donald Trump's debate, because at the end, you'll find out why I had to check myself in the hospital getting 3rd-degree burns from Rachel's kid. So check it out. We sure love to have you there. See you next time, folks.